Part 1. What's a time someone was nice to you when they didn't have to? I'm epileptic. Once during a school assembly I had a seizure and it was pretty bad too. When I woke up, the first people I saw were my English teacher and she was smiling and telling me it would be okay, my health teacher who was apparently the first person to run and get me help. I was in a super emotional state after the seizure and I began to cry and say I was sorry. I was hushed by my teacher and helped down the bleachers by them. My health teacher, my English teacher, my choir director and the school counselor all stayed by me until I got into the ambulance. My literature teacher also ended up sending me a very nice video of her and all of her family wishing me well. You're so vulnerable after a seizure, so it's great having people around who care about you. I really appreciated it. Another seizure I had, I was at a con standing in line to get David Tennant's autograph. I was so excited that I had a seizure, and after I woke up I was wheeled back behind a curtain that was behind the booth. A moment later, David Tennant's agent came up to me and asked me what color pen I wanted. I was confused, but I said black. After he said that, he explained that David wanted to come back and make sure I was okay, which he did. The first thing he said to me was, "What are you doing falling down on me?" And he walked over and we had a full conversation. He asked my name and autographed the book I had brought for him too. I got a picture, a conversation, and an autograph from David Tennant. And this was big. I am a huge fangirl for him. All he wanted was to make sure I was okay. Another seizure. I was biking to school on a pretty busy street, and while waiting at a stoplight I started to seize and fell off the bike onto the side of the street. Next thing I know, I'm on the sidewalk and there are like a dozen homeless people crowded over me, comforting me and getting help and such. It was very embarrassing, but they were sweet. I'm not the type of guy to cry much or ever, but the post-grand mal sobs are real and out of my control. Another time I was on a plane with my mom and I had a seizure and instantly there was a bunch of seat switching and I woke up next to my mom. It's so kind that people are willing to help. Part 2. What's a time someone was nice to you when they didn't have to? I have two stories. The first one is, I was in the grocery store and went a little nuts buying produce and a bunch of healthy but expensive stuff. Didn't check my account before I checked out and didn't have near enough cash to cover it. As I was telling the clerk to cancel it and why, the lady behind me in line said she'd pay for it. I was floored. It was $120 worth of food. It wasn't like she was paying for a gallon of milk. I said no so many times, but she insisted. She said it was the anniversary of her father's death 20 years ago and that paying for a stranger's groceries was the kind of thing he would do. So when she said, "Please let me honor him this way," I gave in and let her pay. I cried the whole way home, feeling like I had taken advantage of her, like I wasn't worthy of the help. I made sure to promise her I'd pay it forward in return. So I have the date it happened set in my calendar, and every year I donate $120 to the local food bank in honor of her dad. The second one is, I have this little bracelet that my dad gave my mom when they first started dating. Since my dad died before I was born, I've always cherished this bracelet. Well, one day while working at a big financial institution, this bracelet broke. I placed it into my desk drawer and forgot about it overnight. Turns out the janitors cleaned out all the drawers and accidentally threw my bracelet away. When I arrived the next day, I panicked and looked through all the trash cans I could find until it was determined it must be in the dumpsters out back. My boss and several coworkers rolled up their sleeves and climbed into the dumpster to find it. Mind you, they are all in suits and dress shoes. About an hour later, they all championed into the building chanting, "We found it," covered in grime. I come from a rough background and I had never felt this level of kindness before. This changed me, and ever since I try to always go out of my way for others, especially for the seemingly small things. Part 3. What's a time someone was nice to you when they didn't have to? This didn't happen to me, but I was there and witnessed it, and it really helped mold me and how I view the world. My mom and dad were at their local Denny's, and the waitress was making small talk with my parents. People always opened up to my mom out of nowhere. She was just one of the kindest souls, and somehow people could tell immediately. The waitress was working double shifts because she was pregnant, and she was struggling to get all the things she needed. She was joking about no one ever tells you how expensive kids are and stuff. They all laughed together and went their separate ways. I feel that is where it would have ended for most people, but my mom went to Target and bought a stroller, a car seat, and a bunch of other misc items for the waitress. She took them back and dropped them off and didn't even wait for the waitress to see them. I was blown away by not just the kindness, but that she did it without the need for people to realize the great things she did. I do my best to be like her and help people even when they don't ask and I don't receive anything in return. I always feel like I am falling a bit short of her, but I know she would be proud that I was trying. I truly believe if more people were even just a little more like my mom, the world would be a more loving place. Part 4. What's a time someone was nice to you when they didn't have to? When I first went to college, I was having a hard time. I couldn't seem to make friends, I was depressed, my grades were slipping, I was working in fast food. I was unprepared to financially support myself and frequently got overdraft charges. One day, driving home from school, my car was on empty and I just didn't have the money for gas, but knew I was getting paid the next day, so I thought I could just skirt by. Nope. I ran out of gas in an intersection, everyone was honking. It wouldn't start back up, so I got out to push it out of the way. After about 5 minutes of shameful struggling, a man with a red pickup truck pulled over. He helped me push my car to the side of the road. He drove me to the gas station, bought me a gas can and filled it up for me. While we were driving, he asked me if I was alright and what was going on in my life. Very friendly, not accusatory, but genuinely concerned. I just broke down and said I didn't know what I was doing and that I was a failure. When we got back to my car, he said I should come by his church and I would be welcome. He told me everything was going to be okay and things aren't as bad as they seem. I never went to the church, but this one altruistic act was exactly what I needed at the time, and I've never run out of gas since.